Okay, so the Air Mile Radius tool that I released earlier today, I did have some time to sit down and was actually surprised myself by being able to uh, get some things done that I thought would take much longer. So here's what it looks like now. It's definitely different from the first iteration, but it works in much the same way. So a couple of caveats here. As I've mentioned before, this is largely geared towards the agricultural exception and using that 150-mile radius. Um, it is on you, the driver, to make sure that you are abiding by all laws, regulations, blah blah blah, and knowing what an actual agricultural commodity is. Um, One thing I have not yet implemented as of this video, but it will be in there by the time I get this fully released, is a link to the FMCSA guidance on agricultural commodities. Anyways, so if you know that you are for sure going to be hauling an agricultural commodity and you qualify for the exemption, what you're going to want is your source. So that's what we'll put here. I've got an address already populated in here because that's a place that I load from time to time. But you can even we'll just do the city center of Phoenix, Arizona. So you don't need zip codes. Usually if you give it house, number, street, city, and state, it'll find it. Border color and fill color, those are, just for what the circle is going to look like when it generates it. If you don't want it to have a fill, you can check that. And then the proximity alarm, this ties into the new GPS feature that I was actually able to make work. And what this does, and we'll talk about it or demonstrate it a little bit later, is as you approach the edge of the circle, as you're getting ready to leave that air mile radius, it'll start beeping at you. And it's not very annoying. It's just a little like a heartbeat monitor almost. Just enough that if you're running this in the background and you're carrying about your way and you kind of lost track of the distance, it'll kind of remind you, hey, pretty soon you're going to have to get off of this exemption because you're in 10 miles, you'll be outside of that circle. So that's how that works. New option is changing the map mode. The light map is terrible. The satellite doesn't even show roads. Gonna try to work on an overlay for that, but I mean you can get a really good pictures of some of these places. But I think my favorite is the hybrid map. This one actually has a good idea of roads, a little bit of terrain. I still prefer myself the dark map. The only thing I have against it is that you can't really see the highway and interstate numbers very clearly on it, but I digress. So let's say Phoenix, Arizona is going to be our loading source. We'll just pretend, for the sake of argument, that we actually had an address in there. We know that that is where we are going to be picking up our agricultural commodity. So once you have an address, and please use a full address, don't just use a city center like this, you'll click on New Circle. So boom, and there we go, we have a circle. Really quick, I'm going to hide the controls. There's that button up at the top. And right now it says Ag Exempt up here, and you might be wondering, why does it say Ag Exempt? It's because we haven't given it our GPS location yet. All it knows is what's on the center of our screen. So, as we move in here, if we move out of this circle, now it thinks that we've traveled out of there and we need to be on normal hours of service. And if I get zoomed in even closer and get within 10 miles, it should start beeping. Oh, no, it's not going to start beeping. Because why? Because I didn't turn on the proximity alarm. So let's try that again. It's not doing it, is it? I don't know why it's not doing it. Oh, it probably is. I just don't have my Bluetooth connected. So if it is doing that, then great. But if not, then whatever. But it does work. I actually got a chance to test this just today. So hide these again, zoom back out so we can see our entire circle. So then there's your radius. You started at whatever this address is in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm using Phoenix for a reason. Now you want to decide, actually, if you enable GPS, I'll just show you. It does work in real time, and I'm very proud of this. Now it put me to normal HOS because now it knows where I'm at. Because I am up here. And it knows I'm outside of the circle. So from here on out, because I enabled GPS, it's going to show normal HOS. But that's what your little GPS marker is going to look like right there. It's going to be this little pulsing green dot. And it will track in real time. I think it refreshes every 1 second. But we're still going to work with our circle here. Let's say, now you know what your radius is. You know you're going to be traveling a certain direction. And you want to see what kind of towns are nearby there. I've created a legend. You just click on scan for towns. Now this takes a second. Like it actually has to put in some real work to be able to get this information. But what it's going to do is it's going to populate a list of towns that are near the radius of your circle, or near the edge of your radius, rather. And it's going to kind of categorize them in this way. You know, rural with no major roads going to them, they're basically useless. And then blue ones, blue dots, sometimes the colors don't render right, so something for me to work on. But it'll give you a list of them all here, and then it'll show you ones where it found a truck stop. This kind of works. It works okay. Like, yes, there's definitely a big Flying J in Ehrenberg. There's definitely a big Loves in Joe City. And so what you'll find, if your colors actually work correctly, because these are supposed to be different colors, these are obviously not all gray rural places. But see how some of these dots are a little bit bigger? Those are the ones where it says, for sure there's a truck stop here. And in Joe City, for sure there's a truck stop there. And in fact, if I go back over to the hybrid map, we'll probably be able to see the Loves in there somewhere. I know there's a Loves. Is it here? Yep, there it is. Loves travel stop. So it was able to say, hey, I know there's a truck stop in Joe City, and flag that for us. It doesn't work perfectly all the time. You know, you kind of gotta just figure it out. But let's say that was the direction you were going to be heading after you leave Phoenix. Joe City's right on the edge of your 150 miles, and you decide that's where you want to go. So down here in this list, you can, and when you click on a point on the map, it will find it for you in the list. So let's go back up to Joe City, and then this little pin over here, click that. That's going to open up the Joe City city center as a pin, as coordinates on your Google Maps, and it's going to open it up in the separate app there. Now, obviously, you don't want to go exactly right there, but it gives you, it gets you in the area so that you can kind of navigate your route to Joe City if that's the direction you're going to be traveling. So then you could subsequently click on Loves and be like, all right, we're heading there, and that's where I'm going to go and get off of my exemption status. Yeah, so you can then hide these towns. I'm going to turn this map back dark. Beyond that, there's the ag tips. And this is where I'm going to be in, I don't know what. This is a coding error, but I'll fix that later. This is where I'm going to include a link for the FMCSA website as far as commodities and the actual regs on ag exemption, because a lot of people do get the commodities mixed up. There's a list out and about of commodities that are exempt for a completely different reason. It has to do with operating authority and motor carrier numbers, not HOS. So if you find this list that seems really comprehensive and it says exempt, non-exempt, you're probably looking at that list and not the HOS list. In fact, unfortunately, FMCSA does not have a definitive list of exempt and non-exempt commodities specifically. It just has guidelines on the state of commodities being hauled and their processing level. So it's it's not super clear all the time. So there will be a link in here in the coming day or two. But yeah, that about sums it up. The towns, sometimes it will get kind of snagged up and not want to load. In that case, because when you first click on scan towns, it hides the controls and it does its thing. If it errors out, it just kind of timed out. All you have to do is just open up the controls again, hit scan towns again, and usually it'll get it. If it doesn't get it on the first go, it will get it on the second go. And naturally, if you're visiting the page for the first time, you are going to get a disclaimer, and I'm going to say it right now. It's another one of my tools. It's another little helper, but it is not the Bible. Obviously, there's a weight of responsibility on the driver that's using this, on the company that's dispatching the driver, as far as making sure that they are correct in their commodities, that they are in fact agricultural, and that you've done route plotting and have agricultural exemption methods or procedures within your company. Hey, this time it loaded up the colors. See, that's what that's what I was trying to talk about. But yeah. So again, this is a tool. It's a resource. It's not. You got to run your own show. This doesn't run the show for you. But hopefully, it's helpful, because instead of trying to guess road miles versus air miles, you can find exactly where that air mile boundary is, and hopefully a place that you can safely stop, switch your duty status back over to normal hours of service rules, and carry on about your way. So that's that. Hopefully it helps somebody anyways, and catch you around.